Hello and welcome to another episode of UKversus. That is not Richard, that is the main Discord. Boom, there's Richard. You are. Yep. Today we'll be going to go over the rules. I am, well, as always, Brett the Acorn Pendragon. I am joined by my lovely co-host, Richard Shots Fired Plumber.
Yeah, hello everyone. Obviously, you were hopefully with us only a couple of nights ago, so we got another episode because we've just got a lot of stuff to cover. So, yeah, got plenty to go over this evening.
Let's start off with the initial shill of sign up for your Dark tournament. It will get you into the Wish tournament. The set drops on the 23rd. We've just done our box opening. I've just received my email that 4 of my boxes have been shipped today, so hopefully they'll be here for Friday. And the hype on this set is absolutely insane. I don't think I've actually seen a set have such a universally liked response. Even Jetburn had some backlash for some of the cards. I've not heard any complaints about any of the cards. I've not heard anyone actually being down on the set. I haven't watched Andrew's videos on them, so that might also influence it, because I know Andrew was quite down on Jetburn. But yeah, I've not. How's your experience been with the hype around the set?
Yeah, I mean, I know certainly the old heads, right? A lot of them were waiting for the set since the first UU set, right? Like the Dark Tournament arc, I think, is the most sort of beloved of this anime, to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah, a lot of people said that that should have been where it ended.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people are very keen to get their hands on it. I think part of it is it's freshening things up, right? Right, you just to briefly interlude, Andrew. Why are we throwing strays? You are the person least qualified to make a comment like that.
I'm coming out the gate, kind of swinging today.
Yeah. Yeah, I think just it freshening things up, right? Like set one, for everything it did right and everything it did wrong, it cast a big shadow over the rest of the card pool, right? Like, it had so many good zeros, so many good staple attacks, like so many very powerful characters, that it just overshadowed a lot of things. And hopefully, it removing Dark Tournament coming in, it just sort of freshens things up, give things a new lease of life. Maybe older cards, maybe stuff in set 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever that maybe didn't ever see the light of day might now start to. Having said that, like Dark Tournament looks fairly powerful in general. Like, it's got a lot of powerful stuff. Just at very first glance.
Yeah, from what I'm understanding is Jetburn was looking at more mechanically powerful cards, and the stats kind of suffered, which is where it had a lot of low statted cards with very powerful abilities that compensated for the stats. And the Dark Tournament seemed to have gone, okay, let's keep those powerful stat abilities and then also pump the numbers on every attack.
Yeah, I mean, Jetburn kind of was a stat set, right? It was kind of 6-hand aggro stats, like, the UQs of the world, and like Todoroki, though he hasn't necessarily done anything, just putting stats and everything. Endeavor 3, just putting stats and everything, right? So it was a bit sort of, in some ways, like, to oversimplify it, it was a bit Ojiro to the set. Yeah, so, but it was good.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, I think, like, I'm not a particular set one hater, but I think it leaving and having that rotation to freshen things up, I think is only going to be a positive thing.
Yeah, and if you are a person that's interested in set one, I put a question out into the main Facebook group about what cards you're happy to see go, what cards you're sad to see go. We'll give Mr. Andrew Holder a shout out here, who has just uploaded a video about the cards he's glad to see go on, and the cards that he'll be missing on YouTube. So do go check it out after we finished, of course. And I know a lot of other content creators have done it.
Yeah, I mean, it's that sort of time of the year.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like, especially with something leaving as well as coming in, it's sort of, primary content.
We're working on something that we can do as a goodbye to set one, as well as welcoming you hack show. I have an idea. It's just finding enough people to implement it, because unfortunately Richard's busy Friday. Lots of people are busy Friday because it's the release. But very excited for the set. Yeah, everyone seems to be quite hyped on it. I didn't mean to call you out, Mr. Holder, but you were one of the only people I can remember who was down on Jetburn. But you also had the fair criticisms of Jetburn.
Yeah.
But what we're here to talk about today is the implemented rules changes.
But yeah, I mean, just to cap that, I think as someone who has virtually no investment in the IP of Yu Hacker Show, like I've never watched anime or anything, I'm certainly sort of excited for the set. Like, there certainly looks like a lot of cool things going on. A lot of the characters are very interesting. Like, look at someone like Suzuki. Like, he doesn't give stats, but I think he might secretly be, well, not maybe necessarily secretly, but I think he might be very, very good. Jins are possibly our new sort of control-y sort of character. I think younger Tagoro might be a bit of an outlier.
Oh, younger Tagoro is going to be all over the place.
He might be a bit cracked. But you've got like Karama doing like carpool and stacking stuff, and so I think a lot of the characters are like interesting. It remains to be seen like how powerful they are, but there's new angles, right? There's Karasu, who's doing like the you don't get more than 6 thing. Is that right?
Yeah, Karasu is the one that when he deals damage, everyone above 6 has to destroy a foundation, and then you get damage equal to the number of foundations destroyed. As people have already started to point out, younger Tagoro just plays Copy, Harden, and Nebulous Stare better than anyone else, because you just chuck a lot of damage on a throw and then keep picking it back up. Yeah,
and then you've got like Shishi Wakamaru, who can do crazy, like, ignore progressive things and just auto pass stuff, and
you
got Genkai and
we did go through all this a couple of days ago on our tier list, so please do go check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, like I said, they're interesting.
Yeah.
So whether they're meta relevant or whatever, that doesn't matter. Like, I think their characters are interesting.
So let's go for a nice little warm up into the rules changes, which is the changes to match structure. So that is the best of 3 format for Swiss that has now had 10 minutes shaved off the time.
Yeah, so just to preface everything, obviously the UVS games released a rules update the other day. If you want to go read through the rules document itself, it's all on their website. And this had a number of things, some of which I think are mostly positive, some of which I think are hugely negative, some of which I think are a bit sort of neutral. But this is obviously all just my opinion, right?
Yeah. So end of round procedures stayed the same until second player has their final turn or 10 minutes elapse. Once the 10 minutes elapse, you resolve the current form, but the time has been reduced by 10 minutes. And to me, this is a positive change. It cuts down on 10 minutes is not making that much of an impact. Yes, it does favour aggressive decks, but to me, cutting essentially an hour out of RLEs feels like a positive way to go, and you're still kind of getting the 60 minutes of play, including the overtime.
Yeah. I mean, the overtime rule obviously doesn't change. That stayed the same. So we essentially lost 10 minutes. If this is just to accommodate draft, I hate it. I think it was unnecessary. In general, I would lean towards slightly negative for this one, but I'm sort of okay with it, right? I don't think it necessarily needed that 10 minutes. I think an hour is fine. As someone who probably plays reasonably quickly, like, I've certainly had games go to time in an hour. The change is fine, and as long as one very specific thing happens, and I know this is something Andrew has also been very vocal on, and I fully agree with him, is that judges need to learn how to call bloody stalling and slow play. And also, people need to learn how to play quicker. Like, you can get a match done in 50 minutes. I think an hour's better for this game. Like, I think, like, if you look at Magic, for example, I'm pretty sure that's 60-minute rounds. And this has much more, generally speaking, much more complex interactions from like turn one. I think an hour is fine, but yeah, it's just, if you go back and look at the recent HLC and, like, you know, those 5-hour rounds, they could have been like half to a third of that time if a judge was just empowered and trained and, you know, had guidance and the sort of codification of what it actually is in terms of how to tell people that they need to make decisions, hurry up, stop stalling, and judge it, right? And that there isn't necessarily, there's a sort of some wishy-washy guidelines on it, and obviously it is very subjective in terms of what stalling or slow play is, but I think people need to learn to call that shit, and judges need to learn how to rule it, because from my experience, people play far too slowly in this game. Like, there are complex interactions, and there's certainly times where it's okay to say, okay, this is a key moment, a key enhance, a key decision. I want to spend like 30 seconds more on it. And in these situations, like, you just have that conversation with the opponent and say, hey, this is an important decision. You know, I've played at a good pace of play for the rest of this match. I'm just going to take 30 seconds here to think it through. Like, you know, in all these things, communication obviously helps. But yeah, people just need to learn how to play quicker, honestly. And judges need to learn to tell people to hurry the fuck up.
Yeah, we can't be impacting on newer players. So I'm just trying to quickly edit something whilst we're in the middle of doing this. But yeah, we can't be impacting newer players and discriminating against them in higher events by saying, oh yeah, you need to be playing quicker, but there needs to be, as the rules say, you are expected to have a reasonable understanding of the game. So that reasonable understanding also needs to go into, you should be able to play at a reasonable pace.
Yes. And I mean, that's true for like any sort of like card game like this, right? You know, you need to be able to play. And, you know, part of it is, you know, the lack of obviously the judge program, which I'm sure, you know, we've talked about before, and I'm sure is on, you know, UVS Games' list of things to do, right? It's just getting that thing up and running, I think, helps a lot in terms of codifying sort of slow play and stalling. But I think it's certainly something that needs to happen, and especially with 50 minutes, it's going to be a lot easier for people to sort of skirt around it and sort of not cheat, but push the boundaries.
Okay, well.
And as we speak, obviously, there's been another update come out.
There has. Luckily, so a new update's just been come on, which has added another paragraph to the mixed format section, which is what I was literally just doing, because luckily we got a little bit of heads up for it.
Okay.
So, we'll be going through the bottom article with you as we go through it. But yeah. So, basically, we now in our release have mixed format. I was going to say this at the end, but since we just got the update, we'll go through it now. Which means the last 3 rounds of Swiss will always be draft, and we'll cut 2 top 32 at that point, diving into 4 8-player pods. We'll go into the pod stuff because Andrew Holder has made some very good points about pod sizing and the way they should work as well. And then everyone else outside the top 32 is just gone, eliminated. You'll play 3 rounds of Swiss, and then you will cut 2 top 8, which is what this next article is about. All major regionals will follow mixed format tournament draft, so that they don't get a choice. All major regionals have to follow it.
Yeah.
Then a booster will be set aside for the drafting portion, so we're not paying anything extra for drafts. It's all going to be included. The first cut to draft will always consist of the top 32, regardless of the player event size. Top cuts following the draft portion will always be capped at 8 players, regardless of player size. These top 8 players will be based on constructed record combined with a draft Swiss record.
Mm-hmm. So that's just a combined record, so that bit's fine, right?
Yeah, I think it's just more outlining that we're not going to have to pay anything extra for boosters, and that it's not going to be it's not going to be taken out of our participation boosters. Because imagine you get your participation boosters, you open an XSR, and you go, "Oh, cool! I have to send that away in a draft." It's like, no,
that's just a handful of packs. That's not really a big deal.
Yeah, no,
right. So the time shortening on the round is fine. People just need to learn how to control slow.
Yeah, no,
right.
No, I spoke to Cody and Kyle about it, our resident recovery goal players, saying like, "How are you feeling?" It's fine. They're like, everyone. I think most people are like, it's fine. I do believe events used to be 50 minutes plus 10 minutes, and it was only in MHA that it got changed to an hour. So, I see it as a positive change. Having 70-minute rounds plus then the administration of pairing the new round was making events go a lot longer.
Yes.
Especially at like a locals level where you can go, okay, rounds are going to be pretty much 3 hours, makes it much easier to plan your evening.
Yeah. So for me, this update, which is obviously that second thing, doesn't really change anything in terms of the information that we had, other than confirming that all major regionals are mixed. Right? We didn't know that for certain. All we knew was that season 1 was mixed. Right? We didn't. I don't think it was confirmed that all seasons of major regionals were mixed.
So Lenoco's just in here confirming that MHA 1 and 2 were 50 minutes then plus overtime. So it's a change back to the way it was. So it was mentioned that our release in the article, which has been, we're not the first people to say it has been overly scrutinised as being a very poorly worded article. When our release were introduced as draft, I assumed, being an ex-Magic player, that it was going to be a whole Swiss of draft. I did not expect the cuts. It wasn't until you explained to me.
I knew how this was going to be working.
You explained that to me, and I was like, that's not really good.
Yeah.
But as with everyone expected we would do X amount of rounds, cut to draft, and everyone gets to draft. No, I don't think anyone expected this top 32 cut.
Well, it was always a case of how on earth are they going to do it, right? Because trying to manage a big tournament hall of, let's say, 120 players, whatever, all of them drafting, and effectively you almost need a judge at every table, right, to run the drafts. Not necessarily, but like often that's the case. It's really hard to do. So I was always unsure of how they're going to do the logistics of it. And this is obviously how they're controlling the logistics of running those drafts. So in terms of like, okay, the theory behind the reasoning why they're doing it this way, I sort of understand, right? If you want my fuller thoughts on this, a little bit of a plug, I did write an article, kind of a document that you can find. I'm sure when this goes on YouTube, hopefully my glamorous assistant Brett will put a link to said document. So if you want to go read it, you can do. It's a bit of an essay thing. But I understand the reasonings for it, right? The first is obviously having those 32 players, that's 4 pods, makes it much easier for the judges and the organizer to run. It makes the product you need for the tournament, right? You know, sometimes you don't know whether it's going to be 50 or 150 would turn up to your event. So it's hard to like have the product on hand to enable everyone to draft. So this makes it a very controllable amount of product you need to have to facilitate the drafts.
It also cuts into what you were saying about how they're going to look at, how they're going to keep it honest.
Yeah,
You
I mean,
have,
it still should be stamped. It doesn't matter how many players,
yeah.
whether it's 8 players, 32, or 250. The draft pack should be stamped.
But being able to position a judge at each part of 8, making sure no one's going into their folders, making sure
Yeah,
no, basically when your deck is being constructed, you leave your deck there, and HLC rules. If you walk
yeah,
away from the table, you leave your sealed deck with a
yeah.
judge.
Or you could just effectively you register your pool on the app, or you have you register your pool on a paper or something there needs to be some sort of anti-cheating mechanism. But with 32 players, it's a lot easier to facilitate, right?
Yeah.
So I understand the reasoning. I understand the reasoning for putting draft at this high level formats, right? Because if you want to make draft a thing in your game, right? If you want to make it part of the landscape of your game, and I understand the reasoning for doing so. It pushes product. It opens up other avenues to play. There are positives to doing that. Either you do it from the ground up or you do it from the top down, right? Either you heavily incentivize it or really drive it at a local level, or you say our competitive level events require draft skills. You need to now somehow get practice, and therefore hopefully then it drives local stuff. Okay.
I mean,
I think
Yu Yu
they
Hakusho
tried
has already
with the
started
steel.
pushing the sealed pool, with the Wish Tournament qualifications being required to be going through sealed or through draft. But I get what you're saying, where this opens up a new avenue of players to develop new skills, and
Yeah,
it takes
and
away from whales and sharks just coming in with 4 falling skies and all this stuff. It makes it a little bit harder.
yeah. I mean, that's a minor thing, to be honest. If you're playing competitively, taking it mentally, you have the cards you need, right? Obviously, they tried doing limited play from the ground up in terms of the sealed stuff with the extra credit and sort of incentivizing it through that. And I presume it didn't really take off. I'm not aware of many places that were really running much in the way of sealed. So this is another way of doing it and pushing draft from the top down and saying, look, our top level competitive play, you need to be able to draft if you want to do it. So therefore, you need to learn. I get it. Obviously, I have previously outlined my reasons for dislikes of draft in this game and reasons why I think there's issues. Again, it's all in that document if you want to read it. But we're not here to necessarily talk about that. We're here to talk about the fact that you effectively, if you aren't top 32ing day one, you are losing 3 rounds of your tournament. Okay, that's effectively what happens. And there's 2 sort of very disparate opinions on this one. There are the sort of, I guess, more competitively minded players have taken a look at it and said, hey, if you weren't in top 32 at that point, you weren't making top cuts anyway, so it doesn't matter. Again, I get it, I understand. But I think the overwhelming majority of players that play this game see these big regional events not necessarily just as part of the competitive ladder, right? They see them as events, as celebrations, as ways of meeting your friends, making new friends, and just playing a day of cards, right? At high levels. And, I'm not, there's going to be players that don't want to take their younger Taguros and Jins and, Endeavor 3s. They're going to take Cementos or, they're going to take their snipe deck to this major regional, and they've got no aspirations necessarily. They're going to try their best, and they're going to hope to top cut with their Cementos deck. But they realistically, it's this is my pet deck. I'm probably not going to win. I'm just going to have fun for a day, and I'm going to play out my rounds, and I'm going to have a laugh. And that sort of it's sort of diminishing that option for them a lot, right? They can't play out their rounds. They're just going to be playing 3 to 5. And I think that's a real big sort of spit in their face almost. Maybe that's too harsh, but a real big negative for them to look at and see, well, why am I going then? Right? Why am I putting this time learning this character, learning this deck, building the cards for my favorite deck? Why would I bother traveling like 6 hours or, and that's just in like the UK, like, or why would I bother flying to Spain or flying from like Australia to New Zealand or flying from, the West Coast to the East Coast or whatever, in the States? Why would I bother taking these big journeys to play 3 rounds with my deck? And I think it's a big misstep, honestly, in terms of, now it might be they don't want the regionals to be that huge anymore. They want them to be smaller, more competitive things, but I can't see that being their aim. That I would presume they want all of these regionals to have like 150, 200 players worldwide and for these big, huge things. But people just aren't if they know that day one there's a cut, right? And they're like, especially like in the UK, like even our biggest regional, what, it hit barely 100 players. It was 100 odd, something like
that. Yeah, about 107.
Yeah.
In May.
So in that instance, it would be 7 rounds.
Yeah.
So you'd be making the trip for, so out of let's say it was 107. 72 of those players are making that journey for 4 rounds of play for effectively a locals.
So
and also, like, there's the point where someone, let's say that after someone's 3-1 after those 4 rounds. Now, if all 7 rounds, I'm playing all 7 rounds, I'm 3-1. I'm fancying my chances, right? I'm thinking, yeah, I can make top cuts. I just need to win out. X and 1 might not make that cut, and that's insane.
Yeah, there's like 8. I think there's like 8 X and 1s that don't make it into top cuts for the draft.
Yeah.
Which is
obviously it's really, you can't say who will and who won't, right? You can just have some rough guesses of, okay, there's no draws, we've got this number of people, this is what happens. There's going to be draws, there's going to be stuff, and yeah, it's just baffling, and it feels like it's been forced in order to make this draft thing happen, and it feels very much putting a square peg into a round hole.
Yeah. So the biggest argument I've had people come back with is it's going to be 5 rounds of Swiss and 3 rounds of draft, which most people are okay with. It's like, yes, in America, at your biggest ones like Vegas, but we saw Pasadena and Rochester having the similar turnout to Oceanic and EU.
Yes, we're in that sort of 6-7 round bracket.
Yeah, and yes, RLEs are a lot more important now because you have HLC seats on the mind. You have competitive points on the line, which is very, very cool. But talking as an international player, going off like the backlash of this, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't even hit 7 rounds for our release this year. Spain.
No, I'd be amazed.
Spain is an outliner because I think UVS saw the Spain only event, which had more people turn up than our release, and went, okay, there is actually a market out there, and they're hoping the Spanish hourly will bring them all in. But asking a group of people that have never drafted before to draft is just going to cause more issues.
Yeah, and I really hope the Spain one's successful. Like, genuinely, all right?
Oh, yeah, as long as they've got the right TO and they bring in Murray and the guys, because my biggest concern with the Spanish one is getting Spanish judges from, like, Magic and Flash and Blood coming in and trying to understand the nuances of this game.
Yeah. Especially, and I imagine drafting is going to be a lot harder to do in not your language.
Oh, yeah, 100%. The biggest takeaway of this for me from the cutting rounds was a lot of people didn't understand they're just getting cut, and so I decided to go and speak to some of the players I know. I spoke to younger players, older players, old heads, new heads, and I just asked them the question: if you know you're not making top cuts, do you keep playing? And the majority of people said, yes, I came here to play. I want to keep playing. And especially the younger or newer players were saying they just want the experience and to play games at that level and walk away with the experience. And that is something that I took to UVS directly myself. You're taking away that experience from players. You're putting, and a lot of people had, when they found out that if you don't make top 32 after round 3 or 4, you just cut from the event, basically said, then I need to win, I need to improve, I need to not go down any games until round 4 so I can make sure I get into top cuts. And that is a dangerous mentality. I mean, this is a thing I was going to make a separate video for, but since we're going over the rules, mental health and gaming have always been very closely linked. And there are lots of positives to it. You get your socialization, you get stress reduction, you get to have fun, you get to engage your brain in cognitive process and deductive reasoning. And when you're doing well, it feels great. And it also helps you with learning how to lose and losing with grace. When you going into events with the right mental attitude, it makes a big difference. I went into the HLC this year with the mentality of, I'm going to have fun, I'm going to play a deck that I like. If I do well, I do well. If I don't, I don't. And yeah, I went out in the bottom 16, but it nowhere near impacted me mentally as much as the year before, when I was walking in with a 4-1 record with Dabby, and then immediately got knocked out 2-0. That 0-2, that sort of like hit me a lot harder. And then you got people like Phil Birch, who went in and just played Mina 2 and had some fun with their friends and would have been happy if they won, but wanted to have some fun. And then you had other people going into the event that were going in with the opposite mental attitude, and every loss hit them hard, and you could see them getting more tilted as games went on and as they struggled, and as they put so much emphasis on getting that win, it could lead to misplays, it led to a decline in their performance. And there's actually been studies on it, and when you go in with putting this kind of pressure on your performance, there are people who will thrive under it, but it leads to burnout, anxiety, depression. It will literally impact the mental health of our players. And if you had a RLE that you went into and you tried to explain to your partner that you went 3-1 and still didn't make top cuts and how much that's impacted you, you probably couldn't get them to understand how much that's hurt you to the same extent as you could other people in the community. And what this change has done has put more emphasis on our community to look after each other, to understand, to have each other's backs. And as good, this is a great community for that. But I really feel, not to be critical of UVS, but I really would like to know if they did take into account the mental health of their players, especially the younger and newer players who already have so much pressure going on in their life and who are enjoying the game, of basically being told, do well or you don't get to play the game. I was talking to Kai, one of the younger players. He's only 13, and his parents have okayed me to talk about the conversation because, younger player. And it's really hard. He's under so much pressure from school. This is meant to be an outlet for him. And he was just talking about that. He needs to improve. He needs to win. It's a lot of money to spend going to Sheffield for him to only do 3-4 rounds. So he's now putting himself under so much pressure to do well that it's going to have a negative impact. And every single loss is going to hit harder. Every single bad check is going to hit harder. You're more susceptible to tilt. And no matter how friendly your opponent's been across from you, if you know losing this game is the end of your day, you're going to be running hot and emotions are going to be going wild, and it's going to have a negative impact in the community as a whole.
I mean, I was literally about to say the same thing. Basically, it's it's almost like you're going into these events knowing I have to do well, or else it's a wasted day, right?
Well, wasted weekend.
Or I mean, there are competitive players, that will turn up and say, like, if I don't top 8, if I don't top cut this event, then I've wasted my time, right? But that's like a very small percentage, right? And like they're just ultra competitive. Like, I go into these events, and if I don't top cut, if I don't, get that, like, frankly, I'm disappointed when I don't win, right? I'm competitive. I want to win everything. I don't expect to. I'm just like, I want to win the things I turn up to. But like, I was very happy, like the RLE I went to just turn up with my Stormblades Giro deck, knowing I'm not going to win, but I can play my 6-7 rounds and have fun with it, right? And just jam some games and flip some roulette wheels.
Yeah. So for me, it was the HLC pressure as well. So the May hourly, I went in with this meter deck. I'd worked very hard on. It was having the success, and I did top cut, but I had, as you were saying, that mental mindset of I'm a HLC player. If I've travelled 6 hours in traffic to be here, I need to do well. If I do not top cut this event, then it has not been worth it for me. And luckily I did. So I kind of kept that mentality going throughout all the other events I went to. And then in August, it did it again. And I got 17th. And I didn't realise how badly that had impacted me until Sunday, when I found myself just complaining a lot that I was at 17th. And I was getting tilted a lot easier. And weekly shout out to Mr. Hardiman after the event. Mr. Hardiman reached out to me and was like, you were getting tilted and salty and everything very, very quickly. And I just chalked it up to my ADHD. But the more I thought about it, I more realised it's the pressure I've been putting myself under to do well, because doing well was me justifying being able to go to these events. It's a lot of money to drop on a weekend if I don't do well. It wasn't until Nationals, where I did a nice house share with the DMS guys, and it was a much more relaxed event, that I kind of got my mentality of where I am now is I need to relax. I need to have fun. Last year, I ran events as Dabby, and I did very, very well. And because I was going in, like you said, with your Giro Stormblades, I wasn't going in there to win. I wasn't going in there to top cut. I was going, this is a character I like. This is a deck that I have built and I'm passionate about. And if I do well, if I do well. If I don't, I don't. And that was probably my most successful part of the game.
Yeah, like it's hard, right? Like, yeah. I don't know. Like, I imagine this hasn't necessarily been thought of in those sort of terms, and it's like it makes like virtually every event just single elimination, right? Like, it's just one loss and I'm done, and I don't think that that's healthy, and I don't think it makes these things popular or appealing, and like it robs you of, like, stories of running the Swiss Gambit, right? The Swiss Gambit being you lose your first round and then you go up the sort of the X1s and sort of win up through there. Like, that's effectively what I did at Nationals, right? I think I lost like either my first or second round. I think it was Steve that beat the snot out of me with Toru, and then just sort of won out from there, right? And in with this system, I wouldn't have had a shot at that. And it's just it feels like, and one of to quote one of my favorite film quotes, it's just making fetch happen. And I think it's just going to make a lot of people. I don't see who this makes happy, but it makes a lot of people unhappy, right?
Yeah.
I don't know there's anyone who's genuinely happy about this decision, apart from David, because he's just happy about everything, and that's just the guy he is, and that's all good, right? But yeah, just having a day one cut is insane to me, and I worry this is because we've had those stupid 3 to 5 hour stream matches, right? And they've hit like extra costs or whatever on like call fees because things have been overrunning. However, like the other bit of the news, the sort of rules updates that we haven't gone over sort of fixes that. So, yeah, I don't get it. I don't know who this benefits.
So, I mean,
because I think rather than making people want to learn draft, this just makes people not want to engage with organized play at a fundamental level. Like for me, like certainly just first-hand experience talking to my locals, none of them want to travel for draft. Like, and I don't think any of them, and probably including me, will travel for an event that includes draft at this level. Like, if it was like day one constructed, day two draft, then maybe, or it was like a sealed day one, day two draft, or I don't know how else you would do it, but the idea that I could conceivably travel for 5-6 hours up to Sheffield or Leeds or wherever they are, or God forbid fly over to Spain for 3 rounds and then get knocked out and then have to spend even more money playing side events, which again, like in theory, side events lessen the pain, right? Okay, I didn't make the cut, I can go play on these side events. Not everyone wants to. Not everyone has
can
the
afford
money
to
do that. Yeah, exactly. Not everyone has the money to do it. So, like, I hope I'm wrong. I'm hoping this is all overwhelmingly positive. I hope all of these major regionals get huge turnouts and everyone attends and they're brilliant. Yeah, I want the game to succeed. I genuinely do. However, if none of these regional, like, if none of these tournaments hit 50 people, I would not be surprised. And I'm including all the ones in the USA. Because who the shit is flying across the country for 3 rounds?
I can see Vegas easily getting 8 rounds because people will have had to book it months in advance to get it off work, to be able to actually go to it. So I've seen some people talking in Discord and on streams basically saying, I'm going to Vegas because I already had it all booked. Tickets aren't online yet, but my hotel, my flights, it's all already booked. The moment the dates dropped, I booked everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's like, so I'm still going because of that, but I'm not happy about it. I just don't want to lose out on the money I've already put down.
Well, I know there are people that have cancelled. Like, they booked shit and then they cancelled it.
Right. And I was talking to the DMS guys. I was like, we're doing a hotel share for RLE and stuff. The majority of people were just like, I don't even know if I want to go. I want to build a deck. I want to play the deck I'm building. And I want to actually play the game. Driving... I offered to drive them this time, but for Nationals, they got on a 6-hour coach to play 7 rounds of the game, and they had a lot of fun, and we had a lot of fun together, but going that far to play the same amount of rounds as locals for 3 times the cost doesn't seem great.
Yeah, it's just... I don't get it. I don't get who this is a win for.
It's a win for the organisers. Events are going to be quicker, they're going to be more streamlined, and you don't need as many staff and judging if an event cuts down to that many players that quickly. There's a lot less pressure on the judges, a lot less pressure on the organisers, and there's a lot less pressure on UVS themselves. and it also makes the events a lot more cutthroat for the HLC seat that's on the line. When Lohan was talking to us at the HLC, one of the things he said about this year's HLC was they wanted blood out of the gate. They wanted every game to matter out of the gate, and it feels like that has transpired into organized play as well. They want blood out of the gate. They want every game to matter. They want the pressure to be on every player the moment the rounds start. And as great as that is for a world's environment, for where you've already made it to this big event, but putting that much pressure on every single player, some people that are just trying to have fun, have this as a release, have this as a way to de-stress. And yes, it is an RLE, it is a premier event, but it is still just a game that people want to have fun with and socialize with. That is a lot of pressure to be putting on people, and it's more like esports pressure than like card game pressure. The way that this game kind of feels with this information feels more like how I hear my esports friends talk, like my League friends, my Overwatch friends.
Yeah.
And as we know from their communities, they're not the best.
And like Magic tried to go esports and failed utterly.
Yeah.
So yeah. Like there would have been just putting the HLC invite right onto the prizing for an RLE adds the pressure, right?
Yeah.
Adds the competitiveness to it. And it means that those that care about that shit can sweat, and those that just want to go and have a good time can go and have a good time. And yeah. Like I said, I think, you know, I try to articulate all of my thoughts on this, like in that document, because sometimes I waffle. I just don't think it's going to work, and I think it's going to tank the OP system. And if your organized play tanks, that tanks your game, because there's so many more games that are dragging people in, right? You've got Star Wars, you've got One Piece, you've got Lorcana, you've got Altered, was it the one that's coming out? And you've got
Chroma,
and you've got like the big ones that you've got, the Yu-Gi-Ohs, the Magics, the Pokemons, the Flesh and Bloods that are doing this stuff already, and you know you're going to lose people, and I don't know what this does to grow the game. It just feels a bit shooty in the foot.
Yeah, that was going to be.
It's concerning.
Yeah, that was going to be my next point. Is the player turnover from things like Critical Role and Attack on Titan isn't going to be the same as the players we lose because of this, and trying to get players into the game beyond the locals level is going to be a lot harder. Imagine talking to a player who's been playing the game 2 months, and you go, our release coming up, you've played in both qualification events, you've qualified, do you want to come with us up to Sheffield and play in the RLE? And then you go, oh, what do I do in the RLE? It's like, you play 4 rounds, and if you're not in the top 32, you get cut out of this competition. It's like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Or 3, right?
Yeah, or 3.
Conceivably, these events could be 6-round events, right?
I have been operating on the premise that we're not going to hit 64 people. Because, I mean, if you look at our numbers from last year, we got 107 at the first one. August, it dropped, and then it pretty much stayed around just over 70 for Nationals. Now, you take into account that people need to qualify for these events.
Yeah.
And then you take into account that the mentality of, if I don't do well in 4 rounds, it's not going to be positive to new players or players that just want to have fun, or players that have to travel ridiculous amounts of hours. Then we could quite easily lose 10, 12 people and drop down into the 6-round event, which is 3 rounds of Swiss, 3 rounds of draft. And if you're 2-1, you may not even get in.
Yeah, it's just a crapshoot. Like, this game grew so much with MHA, right?
Yes.
And it feels like there is a very real danger that this year tanks it back down to pre-HMA levels. And that might be really big doomsaying, right? But I think there's so many males wanting and so many games and everything on the market wanting, those bucks that you know to spend on booster packs. And as a consumer, you're going to pick the one that entices you the most. Now, the game's still great, right?
Yeah.
Fundamentally,
Love the
the game's still great. We've got all these new IPs coming in that are exciting. We've got this fresh new format with, the set one behemoth kind of being kicked out. We've got all these Critical Role, which hopefully will bring in new blood. We've got Attack on Titan. We're still continuing My Hero, so from that perspective, that's great. We've had the sort of plus ultra stuff, that's got a lot better in terms of the promos for playing at locals. We've now got these all arts and victory stamp stuff, so they're not mechanically unique, but they're really desirable. So that's really cool. We've got an organized play system that is incentivizing local game stores and local play to move up that chain. I think that's generally a positive. And then that kind of organized play ladder just gets kneecapped at this major regional level. And the moment someone sees okay, my organized play ladder stops here because I don't want to engage in this, they're like, okay, I don't want to engage in this, so why am I engaging in this? So then why am I buying cards? So then why don't I go play Star Wars? Right? And that's sort of how that thought process goes. And I don't know whether the people that made the decisions for these major regionals had any conversations with anyone who remotely understands how these things work. It just, for me, it's baffling. And I don't feel like I'm a person, I'm on my own here. And, obviously, you have the same opinions, and everyone else, I don't think I've spoken to a single person or interacted online with a single person who is positive with these changes, right?
With the round changes, yes. So, the other changes, everyone seems to be okay with.
Yeah. And just to briefly cover those, top cuts are now an hour and a half. Yeah. That's fine. Again, we can't have 3 to 5 hour stream matches because, and again, we wouldn't have them if judges were empowered to call slow play and stalling, and players could play an enhanced step without checking a discard pile 5 times, right? 90 minutes is more than enough to get a top.
If you're already killing people in 60 minutes, you don't need 90 minutes.
But it's fine. It's top cuts. Maybe there are more decision points where you want to be a little bit more considered. And again, just saying, hey, this is an important decision. I just want to take 20 seconds to think it through. Yeah. Totally fine. Just have that conversation. Just again,
no offense to Young and Nicholas Reagan, but during the finals, there was a point where me and Kyle were just having a little chuckle because it literally went, let me look for your discard. Okay. Then he has a look at his hand, goes, and then Nick goes, let me have a look at your discard. Looks at his hand. Then Young goes, I'm going to take another look at your discard. A good back and forth with them just going through each other's discards, trying to work out what's left in the decks, stuff like that.
Yeah. And that's where Judge should be stepping in and saying, stop fucking about, make a play.
Yeah, there's reasonable time to think, and then there's you're overthinking.
Yeah, or you're getting to the point where it doesn't matter that you're not parsing this information. You're just gathering information, but your brain isn't parsing it. You're not using it to make a decision. Just make a decision.
The only issue I have with the top cuts thing is the sudden death.
That's fine, right? They need to have a way of breaking a tie.
Yes, but for me, it's the losing life for any reason. It cuts out players like Endeavor 2, Toga 1, whose entire game plan is around playing with your life total. If it was you make your opponent lose life, fine, perfect. But losing life for any reason cuts off a lot of cards. We've just had Hihei come in, with a bunch of life lost cards and like 10 life matter cards and cards like paying the price, which gives you damage.
Yeah, I think the amount of times that is relevant is going to be possibly 0. Because you need to have got to literally that pause condition, that turn 3 thing, where the health percentages are equal. Like the times when that's going to happen are only virtually 0. So I don't give a shit, really. It probably should have been the first player to take damage from an opponent or something like that.
Yeah, I'd say take. Yeah, I'll just put cause your opponent to lose life, and boom, it's done. It's easy. It means you can still self-inflict loss of life. You can get abilities, and get like speed and stuff like that. If we get those cards, I'll make yourself more defensive. But it just seems like a really weird wording, because if you can force yourself to lose life, and there are cards that deal like simultaneous damage.
Yeah.
So that's really weird.
Well, that's the only one I can think of is Cinder Convection, right? Wherever it is.
Yeah, but that's to deal damage anyway, so you're fine.
And that's already been ruled that the active player loses in that situation. So
yeah, because they take the damage first. So I imagine that would be the same ruling if it's a simultaneous effect. Then yeah.
But yeah, that bit I don't care about. Doesn't matter. 90 minutes, top cuts, great, perfect. Just play fucking faster, guys.
Yeah. Teams teams got like more clarification, which is really really good.
Yeah, actually, I'm confused by this actually. So, are the individual matchups with your things best of 3 or best of 1? Because I'm not supposed to be matched against another team and 3 players. So, are the matches best of 1s or best of 3s?
Yes, this is not. Yeah, it's not very clearly worded.
Yeah, I don't know about that. It shouldn't be best of 1. That's bullshit.
Team adds player from teams adds a player form. Adds that players add teams of 3 and play best of 3 matches.
Yeah, against another team of 3 players. I don't know whether that means best. I assume what that means is actually it's down to your TO to decide whether they are running best of 1s or best of 3s.
So, I'm gonna like do a little rules lawyery thing here, and I'm gonna go with it's best of 3 of all 3 games because of the plural, and play best of 3 matches, not a best.
HLC best of 1s.
HLC was best one, but the rules hadn't changed. The rules hadn't changed at that point.
Yeah, but then it was best of 1s at US Nationals, then best of 3s at UK Nationals. So, like, it might be a case of it's a TO decision, right?
Yeah, but in here it's just like and play best of 3 matches against another team of 3 players. If it was and play a best of 3 match against the other team of 3 players, then yes, that's the team that gets 2 wins. Best of 3 matches would imply to me plural, which means you're playing a total of 9 games among your team.
Well, no, the match could be I sit down in front of my opponent and we're going to play a match. That could be best of 1. It could be best of 3. It could be best of 11. Right? We don't know.
Yeah, but it says best of 3 matches. That's what I'm saying. If it was a best of 3 match, it would be a best of 1 among your team to see who gets 2 wins. A best of 3 matches.
What I'm saying is it's ambiguous enough to say that the TO gets to decide.
Yeah, I'm sure someone will clear it up.
The amount of discussion you're allowed is sort of a bit wishy-washy. Like, am I allowed to advise you on your plays or not?
Players on the same team may not assist one another with gameplay decisions. Right there at the bottom of the first paragraph.
Right, okay.
So, discussion between teammates is authorized. However, a player may not play for another teammate. Discussions cannot stop matches. So
it's like it says discussion between team members and organised, and both players in the same team may not assist one another gameplay decision. It's sort of says you can and says you can't.
Yeah,
right?
So it says they can talk, but it basically says that you can't tell them what to do or play for them.
Yeah.
So what's the point in allowing the chat, I guess?
Yeah, I guess just to say, do you want to get coffee after this or something? I don't know.
Oh, it could be a case of if we're in a team with, say, Gary, because first get name that comes in, I lose my game, you lose your game, we can turn to Gary and go, concede, it's over. I'm like, we've just lost our games. You can play that if you want, but it's not going to make a difference.
Yeah, I guess.
It's like, okay, so it's like letting people you're not playing for them, and you're not assisting them. You're just letting them know the current state. It's like, I won, and Richard won. So if you win this, it's a 3-0 sort of thing.
Yeah, that's fine. Again, it's just codifying what sort of order existed anyway. So
I like that every character, everyone has to have a different character, and you're not allowed more than 2 play sets, which is going to make it harder for like the random teams that get put together.
That was a thing anyway, right? That's how teams always have been.
I don't know. I've not taken part in teams. I finished retro, went to get some food, came back, teams had started. It was like,
yeah, that's how it was at Nationals. I don't know whether they were particularly strict on the 8 copies, but I don't think anyone was actually going over 8 copies anyway. Like, I don't, because there wasn't like deck lists or anything. So
I'm hoping,
and Sean said like he didn't really care, but I don't think anyone did.
I'm hoping that this is going to bring back national teams, like as an official sort of thing. The fact that they're now putting this on there, the fact they're making a push in retro, I would really love to see those things come back, and the return of like the assets and action cards that came back for winning teams nationals. Might not be something they actually do, but I would really love to see that return.
Yeah, like I think teams is a really excellent format, and I think the more we can do with that, then the better, really.
Yeah, and I mean, if you did like say retro nationals on the Friday beforehand, while last chance qualifiers are going on for nationals, you did your round 1 of nationals on the Saturday, and then Sunday while the singles like this constructed is going on, you do teams nationals on the other side, so you're not going to get any crossover between the like what's going on there. But then you just have it on there. You don't need to offer HLC seats for them. You just literally offer them the cardboard.
Yeah,
because it's still a great prize, and being able to split it between 3 people doesn't cheapen it in any way.
Yeah. I guess like on it to the top part, I'm just like I'm full of concern as to the future of the game. Is what's currently in my brain.
A lot of people, for me, have been talking about a natural stepping off point, and with set 1 rotating with these changes to the game, anyone who is unhappy can literally go, I joined for MHA. MHA set 1's leaving. We're bringing in IPs I don't care about. This is my natural stepping off point, and can just not even acknowledge like the rules changes. Especially with things like Union Arena, which is another multi-anime IP that's currently now getting its English printing. Like I said, there's a lot of games out there with established organized play, and it could also just be change fatigue. In the course of the last 2 years, the card backs have changed twice, essentially, in the last 3 years. The rules have changed dramatically multiple times. Organised play has changed dramatically multiple times. As Lenoco pointed out himself, MHA set 1 and set 2 were 50 minutes plus overtime. Then set 3, 4, 5 and 6 were an hour. Now we're going back to 50 minutes. There's a lot of changes going on. There's a lot of finding their footing. And if this was a brand new game, which is kind of how it's being treated, it would make sense. But for a game with 18 years of history and 18 years of dedicated fans who have been pushing this game and were original backers, this kind of feels like a new card game mentality on an already established card game.
Yeah.
You couldn't imagine like someone going into Apple or going into Microsoft or going into any kind of established sports team and going, okay, I know this is how you guys have done it since the beginning, but we're now going to do it this completely new way because the new owners think this is a better way to go about it. Uh, and like I said, we don't know what goes on behind UVS doors. I'm sure the old heads in the company and the people that were there for the last 18 years have been pushing him, going, this is what our fans want. This is what our community wants. Because the people in the UVS company do love the game. When I was talking,
and this is it. This is, I guess, part of what I feel is the most baffling is because, like, there's no negative intent here, right? They're not doing this to be like, hey, fuck you. Obviously, there are corporate reasonings behind things, right? They're a company, they want to make money. I get that. That's fine. No beef with that at all. But like, nobody was asking for this. And I don't know whether they've had genuine conversations with players or people to sort of sound them out and like, is this a good idea? Because I think they would have been roundly told no. Like, I think just the if you're at the end of day one, you're not in the top 32 anyway. After X rounds, you weren't making it. Is a very, very reductive view of looking at these events.
Yeah, it's a very cold approach. When we're supposed to have the best community in card games, to basically go, oh, by round 3 or round 4, you should know if you're going to be topping anyway. So it doesn't matter if you get to play it the rest of your round because you're not impacting the tournament. Is basically turning to every single new player, every single player that's looking for experience, or every single player that's just had a bad run and going, you don't matter.
Yeah.
And it sucks. I mean, I spoke to you last year because I wanted to actually start recording bottom table games. And you put, people quite rightly point out most people on bottom tables probably don't want to be recorded. But
yeah.
I think the people at the bottom tables that are still in there in round 6 and round 7 are the most interesting people because they're the ones that are just playing for the love of the game. They're the ones that are just playing because they came here to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, for me, like, I probably end up playing all my rounds, but like, it depends what my record is, right? If I go, if I'm playing in a 7-round event and I go 1-4, I'm probably just going to drop and go get some food or something, right? But there are people that'll be like, I'm 1-4, cool. I want to get my second win, right? And there is a very big value to doing that, of pushing yourself, of learning, of putting yourself against, the good opposition at these events, and just playing in this sort of a tournament structure, playing in a big event structure. Like, you need the experience, you need the reps. You need to know, like, that feeling of victory. Like, that person who's turned up to the 7-round event and has gone 0-6. Like, that if they win their 7th round, that's going to be better. That's going to be more important to them, probably, than the person who wins the overall event, right?
If you turned up with your Storm of Blades Geo deck to the hourly and you went 1-6, but that one win was where you played 4 Storm of Blades off of the first Storm of Blades.
Yeah, that would be the only thing I gave a shit about that weekend.
To go back to my favourite little guy that I've been talking to over the weekend, Kai, he turned up to Nationals with Overhaul Focused Attack.
Yeah.
And was just like, I'm playing all mids Overhaul, and caught people off guard, was having fun. In the last round, he was feeling violently ill, and like people were telling him to go take a break, but he, and like, just get, look after him. He powered through. He wanted to see this event through to the end for the love of the game and to get the experience in. And that's the kind of younger player or new player that we should be encouraging to come to events. The kind of player that stays to the end. The kind of player that plays these fun decks that they've been trying with, that's going to go tell their friends and go, yeah, I didn't win, but I had a great time. I did a lot of fun stuff. And we'll have the stories, like you were saying before, that are going to entice people interested in learning about this game to come in. But if you walk away from the event going, I lost my first game, won the next 3, but still didn't make the top cut, then people are going to be like, it sounds like a really rough game though.
Yeah, I don't like it that any of these decisions. Like, it's just again, I've pulled it down in paper, and like the latest edition just sort of feels like it's double downing on it. And again, square peg round hole of everything's a top 32, and then everything's a top 8. Just yeah, it's bonkers. It's honestly bonkers, and like it just sort of makes every event virtually single elimination. Every event
Yeah.
not a fun event.
Early losses are huge, and there's not much point. It seems like the LCQs. I mean, you had Broberg who lost in round 1 and just dropped. It was like, yeah, there's no point.
Yeah.
But for me, like I said, it's that story. It's being able to get the people in there. I put it in Discord, I put it in Blood's Time, and you got that like meme of stop being critical, they're going to cancel you. It's like, if they want to cancel me over this, it's fine. I will defend the international community to the day I die, because American players are not going to feel the impact of these changes anywhere as much as Oceanic and EU players. And for me, I lost my train of thought with that. God damn it. I got distracted.
Yeah. I think it hurts the smaller markets, right?
Yeah.
Because they lose 3 rounds out of a smaller event. Like, if you're playing a 9-round event and you lose 3 rounds of it, that's nowhere near as much of a feels bad than it would be as if you're playing a 6-round event and lose 3, right? Sure, like, you're going to bubble out at times.
That's a fair point, Andrew. Andrew's saying that it's crazy to say that. So, more of our players are going to see draft. This is true, but more of your players are going to have more rounds. If we have a 6-round, if you get an 8-round event, you're going to see 2 more rounds than our players. Wait, you are, yes, percentiles wise, you're going to lose a lot more people than us, but you're going to have a longer event with more rounds. Turning up to an hourly and playing 5 rounds?
So there are less players that are going to feel bad.
Yeah.
But it means that they feel bad more than...
They feel bad sooner.
Event. That makes sense, right?
Yeah. Turning up to an hourly and playing 3 rounds, then being told you're done, will have much more of a sting than turn up playing 5 rounds and then being told you're done.
Yeah. I mean, they're both bad, right?
They're both awful, yeah. That's what I would say. In the Discord, I did say, love the time rules, love the changes to Top Cut. All of it seemed really, really good until you got to the one bit about mixed formats, and it's taken what could have been really positive changes and what a really good thing for the game. Be like, we've listened to what you've been saying. We've taken into account the untimed top cuts. We've taken into account how long events have gone on for. We've made these changes, and it's just created one lightning rod for us all to get behind and be like, this sucks.
Yeah, it really does. And I just think people aren't going to bother. And that's it. Like, the trouble is you're just going to lose engagement at these high levels, and that trickles down a lot harder than you're going to trickle down draft to being in locals.
Yeah. Like you've said repeatedly and in the article, draft in this game is a lot more expensive than in other games which have got higher packs.
Yeah. Like, I just don't feel like there's... Yeah. I really want to find the positives.
There isn't... There's positives in every decision apart from this one. There is no way you can spin this. There is nothing that UVS can put in an article, which I did tell people over the weekend, just wait for Tuesday, Wednesday, because it's a holiday. Wait for article, wait for changes. There is no way they can spin this to make it sound like it's a good thing. People have been cut out of association with UVS for saying things and doing things which are negative towards new players, and now UVS have now made a decision which
Yeah.
has had a massive impact to the incorporation of new players. No competitive card game player is going to jump ship from Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh to come into this game with these current hourly rules. So trying to get a new player hyped for these premier events is not going to work, because they're just going to be focused on the aspect of, I need to win my matches, and when they don't win their matches, they're going to get upset. They're going to have all these triggers I was talking about through their mental health and suffer burnout a lot more, and it's putting more pressure on us as a community to have each other's backs. And the smaller your community is, the more likely you are to fall into a crab bucket situation. So
just to answer what Andrew's saying in chat, I get that math, right? What I'm sort of looking at it from a perspective of as an individual person, right? I'm considering traveling to an RLE. I'm an American. I can travel to, let's say, conceivably an 8-round RLE, or I can travel to a 6-round one in England.
Yeah. So
if I'm gonna get a minimum of 5 rounds of play in America, and I'm gonna get a minimum of 3 in the UK. That looks a lot less enticing for me to do so in the UK. Also, with them being smaller markets, everyone. It's bad for everyone. Yeah. I think the reason it may be worse in the smaller markets is because I think every one person you lose to dropping out of this hurts the game's growth a lot more, because the market is a lot smaller, right?
Yeah, I would very badly, Andrew.
And I guess like the trying to compare and just say, "Oh, this is worse for us," is like I understand what you're saying. I just think it's terrible. And I think when your locals are small and your market is small as it is, you can't afford to bleed anyone. And I mean, that goes to the States, right? Again, there's all the competition, and I don't think any of them can afford to bleed anyone. And I'm just really struggling to really find the upside here.
Yeah, so I worded it very poorly. It's a shitty situation for everyone, and mathematically wise, your players in the US are going to suffer a lot more. But you also, as Rich said, have a much larger player base.
Mm.
Whereas in the EU, since set 3, we have been losing players dramatically. Germany completely stopped playing the game. Italy's been picking up, but nowhere near the same kind of growth level as we'd expect with an upcoming TCG. France, all the people I know in France are currently selling out of the game, moving into Lorcana. Spain has got significant growth. We saw a 100-player event come out of them there. My local area alone, we've got players from my local team, as I put it, that Kai, who top cutted in May with his Kirishima deck, that was all Kirishima cards, is basically getting rid of everything apart from his Kirishima decks. My friend Andrew, who is a massive Deku enthusiast, is not sure if he's going to keep playing the game as well. The guys over in Cardiff, same situation. They haven't got the time to put in the practice, and they don't feel like RLEs are going to be anywhere near like what the social aspect that they had in the past. If you're not going there with the incentive to win, then they don't feel like there's any point in going. So I will apologise. It is not worse for us. It's different for us. Whereas you're losing a lot of players in your event, we're losing our growth potential. And I do not think Critical Role and Attack on Titan and any other decisions that are coming from them is going to help that growth potential. Even with the HLC seat on the line, that was enough to bring people back into RLE. as Rich said, we're worried about the state of the game here. It is hard to grow a game when our premier events are 3 rounds long.
Yeah. They're just gate kept so hard, and to the point where they're just like, whether they're real or psychological doesn't really matter. People look at it and say, I don't want to turn up. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to make this a we've got it worse than you guys thing, right? And that sort of certainly wasn't my intention. Like, I think it's bad all round, and I guess I don't get it. Well, I mean, obviously Andrew's more than welcome to join us.
I'm just getting the oceanic situation again.
Going along.
But yeah, I respect Andrew's approach of the logic side. He did it for the HLC when the double elimination fell off. It's great to see people looking at looking at it from that kind of aspect. But yeah, it sucks for everyone, and everyone. It's like Richard's been saying all the way through. Who was this decision for? It was not for the players. That is 100%.
It's like fundamentally, I think the main driver is to push draft, right? Like that's I think we could probably handshake on that's the main reason here, yeah. Because having draft be a big part of your game, if it catches on and it works, and draft and people take onto it, then that is a very big win for the game overall, right? And a very big win for UVS games. It's a very big win for local game stores.
Yeah, and this has just come to mind, so I didn't try to interrupt. During the HLC, there was a rumour going around that there are more decisions incoming to affect current players. I think it was someone was caught saying that when Attack on Titan comes out, old heads are going to quit the game, or they're not or it's like old heads are not going to enjoy the decisions that are coming from UVS in Attack on Titan. And with this kind of decision that has just been outright to the players, no.
We can't speculate on that. That's obviously scuttlebutt, which we don't know.
Yeah, that is 100% just a rumour. It has not been incorporated by UVS. We're not going to judge
about that. That is just rumours. We don't know anything.
Yeah.
It could be nonsense, right? So we can only talk about what is actually been released and revealed and talked about.
So, I mean, we're getting to the 90-minute mark. I think
we've ranted and disparaged enough.
Everyone's complaining. Everyone is not happy with this. So, before we sign off, let's try that
positive, right?
Yeah. How do we fix it? What is the way that we can get? What is the way that UVS can appease us or get out of this from this decision?
Okay, so the first one is fuck off the day one cuts, right? They're terrible all around, right? Just get rid of them.
Yeah.
Well, secondly, if you genuinely want to have a mixed event, conceivably do a draft day 2, which is either after like a sealed day 1, or maybe do a constructed day 1, draft day 2, however you want to do it. But that would at least be sort of palatable, knowing that I can turn up with my constructed play day 1. If I make day 2, great, I've hit day 2 and I'll draft and whatever. Second is, and this I will give absolute credit to Mr. Holder for. He was talking about this on his stream the other day. We were just talking about draft and like signaling and wheeling stuff. 6-man draft pods. Don't force it to be 8 for Magic's sake. Like 6-man draft pods, we're playing 11 card packs. Makes a lot more sense. In theory, you can probably draft a bit faster with 6 players. Like they probably go a little bit quicker than with 8. And especially when you're drafting 6 fucking packs.
it makes signaling a lot easier as well. When Richard,
Yeah,
when
I think it
Andrew, yeah,
makes it a lot better. Again, probably go maybe check out his VOD, or if I don't know if you're going to do a video on it at some point. Go check out Andrew's stuff on that. But yeah, 6-man pods. Don't force 8. But yeah, just I don't think draft is a good idea fundamentally at a competitive level. However much I would love it to be this option, I think it needs to be almost a side option for the people that like it. I think maybe you try and push it at a local level, like the similar way you did the extra credit packs. Some ways of incentivizing it, or just sort of encouraging it, and just gently saying, "Hey, you can run your local qualifiers as draft if you want, and let's see how many people pick them up, right?" And things like that. Like I don't know. I'm not an organized play person. I don't know what the answer is, but I think just don't put too many gates on your competitive play in terms of these celebration events to allow that are stopping your average player enjoying and wanting to engage with them, right? Yeah. They should be aspirational. They shouldn't be gatekeeping.
So I just had a thought in my head. If they kept day one the same now, if they did the same structure of 64 people, 6 rounds, you do day one completely constructed.
Yeah.
And then you cut to top 32 to day 2, and yet you can still make that a draft.
No, you wouldn't play top 30. You wouldn't do day 2 with top 32. You would still just cut to top 8, and you maybe do a top 8 draft, and that's it. Like you're constructed day 1, draft day 2. Like, not brilliant, but it's a better option than the one we've currently got. You could even if like for a bigger event where it's a top 16 cut, right? So let's say you've got a USA event that's 128 players and you're going to cut to top 16. The next day, you could do a draft, 2 drafts, 2 pods, right? And then either like top 4 or top 8 from that, which you then maybe move back to constructed. Like, I don't know how you'd logistic it with these top cuts, and I imagine part of that is why they've kind of ham-fisted it this way. Like a top 8 cut for day 2 isn't unreasonable across the board, right? Like it's what Magic GPs are, and like yes, if you've got bigger events, like that top 8 cut's fucking brutal. But it is what it is.
The easy solution is let us play the game. So when this information hit, everyone was arguing quite passionately, and I sent Lenoco a few messages, and one of which was just me. I was getting quite emotional. I mean, just the thought of like how much this impacted the community hit me hard. And my main point was, we want to play this game. We love this game, and the biggest thing I've always said going into Top Cuts, the best prize for winning at Top Cuts is getting to play the game more. Being able to have more interactions with this game. And the biggest loss here is losing rounds of the game.
Your decision just shouldn't make people not want to play your game. If your decisions are making people not want to play your game, you probably need to rethink those decisions.
So, this is a heartfelt plea from me to anyone in UVS that'll listen. Please just let us play the game. Everyone who is buying your product outside of the collectors, which make up a few, everyone who's active in Discord, everyone who's active in the community, everyone who is complaining all has the same thing in mind. We just want to play this game. We just want to turn up, see our friends, have fun, and play this game. We want to have a laugh. We want to go to events that matter, events that don't matter. I mean, Nicholas Reagan was talking about the fact that he can just meme his way through the year and play whatever he wants because he's going back to the HLC. And that is a great attitude to have. We just want to have fun and play this game that we love. I have only been playing this game 2 years, well, just under 2 years. People have been playing this game for 18 years, and we are all unified in this one plea of, we just want to play this game and have fun. So please, let us do that.
Yeah. See, on a brighter note,
Yeah.
I mean, looking at Gin Flash, that looks a hell of fun, and I want to just take people's enhanced steps away. I mean, that's how you fit in a 50-minute round, right? Just don't have enhanced steps. That's how you solve the problem.
I have yet to face Endeavour with my Mill Elder Togo deck. I am terrified of it, but we've got a video coming out, I think, next week that I got recorded with Caleb on Sunday, and he is just swearing at me so much because it's just constantly discard a card, final exam gut shot, rando spirit gun, discard a card, final exam gut shot. He's like, can you stop? It's like, no, it's going to get worse because the next time I just go discard a card, Tetra Terror, pick up final exam gut shot, Echo, pick up final exam gut shot, rando spirit gun.
I presume he was blocking some of these moves at some point.
He couldn't because he was playing Bakugo. He was literally playing. He was playing Bakugo 4, so he was trying to kill me on 3 foundations, and he's like, "You're playing barrier shields and runaways and all this." Yeah, it's like, yeah, I'm playing defensively, but I'm a 20 healther, believe it or not. Oh, Matt, I would have found this myself anyway, but it is. Essentially, I'm playing a meme version of it. If you took out the final exam gut shots and put in something that actually kills, this deck, I dealt, including blocks, I dealt 15 damage to Bakugo on turn 2. That's including his blocks, and was still able to build out. You build this on life, where you're able to play Rejuvenating Smash every single turn. You just, it's... Oh, I can't wait to do dumb stuff with Elder Toguro.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just such a shame that basically this is casting a shadow over what actually looks like for a pretty hype set and fun, and yeah, it's a bummer. It's a bummer.
Yeah, the moment that made me fall in love with this deck, Andrew, is when I realised I could discard Tetra Terror to play Tetra Terror and get the +2 speed immediately, and then I can just be like, yeah, I'll switch it. It's now a 4 for 6. What are you gonna do about it? It's like, oh, but yeah, all bar this black spot on the rules change, great. This new set, love it. As a fan of Yu Yu Hakusho myself, it is great. As some people point out, there are some things from the Dark Tournament that are missing, but the way I see it, that just means we might get more sets. We could get more stuff coming up. We could get extra stuff going in there. I am absolutely loving the way it's gone. I've ordered 7 boxes. I can't wait to crack into those bad boys. And everyone is cooking. Absolutely everyone is cooking.
So yeah, obviously if we don't cast beforehand, I guess good luck to everyone in your Dark Tournament release tournaments.
Good luck to you on Sunday.
What's that?
Good luck to you on Sunday.
Thank you. Good luck to everyone apart from people playing mine, because I want to play in the Wish tournament. And yeah, so I think we'll end it there.
Yeah, I'll leave it there. Robin has a doctor's appointment on Sunday. I'm going to try and get down, but it's looking very likely because it's a 10:30 appointment, and we're going to be there for an hour. So it takes me 4 hours to get there. It takes me like 3.5 hours to get there, so it'd have to be like perfect timing. Friday, if I can get enough people to take part, I am going to be stealing from what happened on Tam's stream, and we're going to be playing Guess That Card. I'm going to get people to actually come on the stream, and I'm going to pick some MHA1 cards and some Dark Tournament cards, and it's going to be a point system. You get your 10 guesses, as are the rules, but then you also have 10 points. So if you're able to just outright guess the card from your 10 questions, you get the 10 points. The more questions you ask, the points go down. So if you use your last question/guess to get the card, then you get 1 point. And it's just it was really fun watching it happen on the stream with Andrew and Brent and Tam, and I thought, I want to do this. And every single person I've talked to is very enthusiastic about it. The main issue is it's Friday, which is when a lot of people are doing their release events. So if I can get enough people in on it.
Well, I'm not doing it on Friday, but I am playing Frosthaven, so you know.
But yeah, if I can get enough people who want to come in and play this game, it is a really fun game, and I can't wait to actually see how it goes. Big shout out to Matt Fontaine, who has joined us a bit late. Big shout out to Andrew Holder, who has been fighting this fight in Discord with hard logic and maths, and I again apologise for underestimating the impact on the US community. I have always been more focused on defending international players. So yeah, I do wholeheartedly apologise for not taking into account your plight as well. But I think we're probably going to call it there. Do you think, Richard?
Yeah, I think we'll call it there. Obviously, been a bit of a down of a stream, but it is what it is, you know. So, obviously, thanks everyone for watching along with us. Obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, assuming this does go up on YouTube, thanks very much for watching this. Click like, comment, and subscribe. I agree, Andrew. Obviously, if you do disagree with these decisions, I would imagine that's going to be 99% of you, let UVS Games know respectfully. Raise a ticket, voice your concerns, like email, I think it's community@uvsgames.com. Don't bully Danoko. He's just the messenger. Danoko's a great guy. It's not his fault. Let them know respectfully, calmly, clearly,
logically.
Bullshit. Be polite. Don't, just be an adult about it. But, it's like emailing or, writing to your MP or, local governor, whatever the heck you do over in America. I don't know what you guys do.
But yeah, one of the biggest...
Just give constructive feedback in terms of, I don't like this. And worst comes to worst, speak with your wallet. Don't turn up to these events if you don't like them. I
mean, one of the biggest things about this game is there's not many games where you can literally go have a chat with a dev, with the head of OP, where you can just talk to them all the time. And we can now use that power. When it came to the draft situation with characters, they listened to us. They put a survey out there. Yes, they're still using the same survey for this issue, which I don't think is great. But as Richard's saying, if you want your voice to be heard, let UVS know it. Do it constructively. Do not just go blast them. Make sure that you're articulate and that you have well-reasoned points. But yeah, UVS aren't going to...
the reason, right? You just say, I don't like draft. I don't like being forced into it, right? But don't be... I don't want to draft you fucks. What are you doing this? I hate you. Like, there's just be an adult.
As with the golden rule, has always been, don't be a dick. Be constructive. Be cordial. Approach it like you would approach your HR or your boss or your parents or your teachers.
There we are.
Yeah.
Just imagine speaking to your nan, talk like that. Anywho's, I need a cigarette and a cup of tea.
Yeah.
So thanks everyone for watching. And we will see you all soon.
Yeah, we'll see you all in a bit. Hopefully I'll see you all Friday. Thanks to everyone that's been here. And go out and support your local stores. These changes have not changed your local stores. Get out there, get playing UUH, and let me see what degenerate builds you have. Catch you all in a bit.